people are the natives of Japan who usually live on the most northern of the islands, Hokkaido. The Ainu people look very different from the Japanese people nowadays, although it is proven by historians that they are related to Jamo, someone who lived in Japan in the early days. Scientists discovered that the Ainu for the first time in the 1800s. They were fascinated by the Ainu's pale skin and curly hair compared to the Japanese people's straight hair and darker skin. After so much time has passed, scientists now think that the Ainu might be in fact related to Europeans, and most likely to Russian people. Scientists think that the Ainu must have been the first people in Japan, since some of the landmarks in Japan have Ainu names. Japanese scrolls describe people who had tattoos and call them barbarians. These people described in the scrolls are most likely the Ainu people or descendants of the Ainu. The Japanese invade Hokkaido. In the early 1400s, Japanese people from Honshu Island started to come to Hokkaido. At first, the Japanese and Ainu lived peacefully amongst each other and traded as if nothing was different. But later, Japanese tried to conquer Ainu land. This angered the Ainu and caused them to fight for the things they believed in and fight to keep their ways. Since the Ainu were not a nation, it was much easier for the Japanese to settle in their lands. Later, Japanese slowly but steadily pushed the Ainu to the north of the Hokkaido island. Between the 1400s and 1800s, war broke between the Japanese and the Ainu, and the Japanese won because of their stronger army. After the victory of Japan, the Japanese started to treat Ainu cruelly and make them live in small areas of Hokkaido that did not provide enough natural resources for people to survive. After the Meiji Restoration, the Ainu had almost lost half of its population and almost became extinct when more Japanese came to Hokkaido and the Ainu had to move to the Rocky Mountains of Hokkaido. By the 1873, the Ainu population had decreased to about 16,000 people. Later, the government of Japan passed the Aborigine Protection Act in 1899, which was meant to protect the culture of the Ainu. Instead, the act forced the Ainu to act, live, and take traditions of the Japanese. The Japanese became noticeable to visitors from Europe in the 1900s because of their physical traits. After World War II, Hokkaido's population increased greatly, and therefore the Ainu were once again in poverty. Throughout the 1900s, many laws were passed to protect the Ainu people. Here are some facts. 4 to 5 families lived in each Ainu kotan. Kotan is a village. Every house has a spirit called the Ina. Ainu homes were sturdy, simple, and had only 3 windows. Each village has a leader because of that person's outstanding abilities, such as hunting and stuff. Women stay at home while men hunt in Ainu households. Babies are named when they're 3 years old, since parents want to name their child according to their personality and traits. And most Ainu people have one name instead of a first and last name. Most Ainu people make their clothes out of animal skin or natural resources such as leaves. Ainu women started getting traditional tattoos like mustaches at the age of 13. The Ainu are very artistic and use natural resources to produce art. In the 1900s, the Ainu started recording their history since they didn't have their own alphabet/writing system. They wrote in Japanese or English. In 1899, the Ainu language was forbidden, but the Ainu wrote it on paper and made dictionaries out of the Ainu language. The Ainu believe in spirits. They depend on the spirits and gods for help in crops and personal matters such as the Japanese. After killing an animal, the Ainu send its spirits back to heaven. Right now, the Ainu struggle with maintaining their culture, but it is not as hard as it was before.